What is up, guys? It's your girl, Rylan, and today I was supposed to talk about market coercion within the real estate industry, but I'm just not ready to dive into that yet. So instead, I want to talk about another hot topic, which seems to always be a hot topic. Recessions! I love them. We are constantly talking about these pesky economic crises. When's the next one gonna be? Are we in one now? Is it gonna crash the housing market? And there are so many varying opinions on the internet. I have buyers suffering from analysis paralysis because they don't know what's coming. I have sellers trying to sell yesterday because they don't want to lose out on the equity if property values go down. So what's going on here? What's the tea? Are we in a recession? Well, according to NBER's Business Cycle Dating Committee, who's in charge of declaring to the public if we're in a recession, we are not quite there yet. Recessions are characterized by 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. And although we've definitely had negative growth these last 2 quarters, it hasn't reached the margins that typically preface an economic downturn. I do have some theories as to why we haven't reached those margins yet and why some economists think we might be able to skate by. First, our unemployment rate continues to drop, which is totally surprising given the difficulties of the market the last few years. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, over 500,000 jobs were added to our economy in July alone. Our unemployment rate dropped to 3.5% and is still decreasing. The reason this matters is because historically, before every recession, we typically observe a spike in the unemployment rate, which leads to a decrease on consumer spending on goods and especially the housing market, which makes sense because most of us don't try to buy a house after we lose our job. But here we are with one of the lowest unemployment rates in history. Interestingly enough, from the COVID craze has arisen a new culture of remote working, which is allowing the workforce higher paying opportunities. Global Workplace Analytics surveyed working adults in America and found that 65% of companies are allowing remote work at least half the time, which means that many people working in states with lower than average pay, like Utah, can broaden their work to other higher paying states. With this small shift to the workforce's benefit, people are holding down better opportune jobs, which is keeping our unemployment rate record low. Second, more of our real estate is privately owned than ever. And by this, I don't mean more individuals own real estate. I mean that more privately owned businesses and corporations own a lot of real estate. 15% of our home sales in 2021 were purchased by businesses with existing portfolios of 100 or more rental properties. You see, when the workforce owns more real estate but has a hard time finding and keeping jobs, that's when the housing market becomes volatile, because most individuals don't have enough capital laying around to carry their mortgage payments if something goes wrong. But with so much of our housing being owned by companies and investors with portfolios of multiple properties, they have the reserves and capital to carry them through tough times to avoid foreclosure and losing their homes. This is why you guys may have seen people talking about how we have more money supply in our economy than ever. It's because we do, but all of that money is being held by private companies. Our housing market essentially is being completely supported by corporate America. Now, this is great news for investors and homeowners because it implies that equity gains are going to stay on track, housing values will continue to appreciate, but for the 45% or roughly half of our population that doesn't own any real estate, they're in a really tough spot. It's become increasingly clear to all of us that the growth in our wages and salary isn't even close to keeping up with inflation rates. In fact, most of us have been experiencing negative growth in our income for decades. But with the housing market being propped up by just a few companies, housing values and rents can continue to rise regardless of the state of the workforce, stretching us thinner and thinner. Unfortunately, this is only going to get worse without intervention. So what do we do? Stay tuned for my next video where I will propose long-term and short-term solutions for our current housing crisis. And if you're still nervous about a recession and/or a housing market crash, I suggest you keep an eye on our unemployment rate because that's our biggest indicator. As soon as that unemployment rate spikes, that's when we should brace ourselves.
For a recession.
Peace out, bye.